This week, Wine Spectator has been releasing its top 10 wines of 2024. So in this video, I'm going to give you my thoughts regarding each of these wines. But first, a few quick words about the criteria that Wine Spectator used to come up with this list. This was not just the highest rated wines from Wine Spectator during the 2024 calendar year. Rather, they were trying to come up with an interesting and diverse list of wines at various price points. They used several primary criteria to make these determinations. First, they took into account quality, which was based on the Wine Spectator score, and they considered only wines that received 90 points or higher from Wine Spectator. Second, they considered both price and availability of the wine. They wanted wines that were made in fairly large production so that people could purchase those wines. Lastly, they also took into account something that they call X factor, which is just something special about the wine or the producer, or perhaps an interesting backstory. Coming in at number 10 is the Ramey Russian River Valley Chardonnay. This wine received a 94-point score from Wine Spectator and sells for around $50 per bottle. While David Ramey is primarily known for some high-quality single vineyard expressions of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, this particular wine is a blend of fruit from 6 different vineyards located within the Russian River Valley AVA, including the Ramey Estate Vineyard. This is a very enjoyable wine that features flavors and aromas of lemon, peach, mango, and mixed herbs, and there's also refreshing acidity, particularly because most of the fruit sources come from cool vineyards. Ramey produced around 7,500 cases of this wine. At least as of the time of the recording, it looks like it's still available on the Ramey website, although a couple of retailers have already sold out of their supply. Viewers of my channel will be very familiar with wine number 9, as I just featured this wine on my channel last month in a video on 11 of my favorite wines that sell for around $40 per bottle. The 2020 GD Vajra Barolo Albe is a wine that received a 94-point score from Wine Spectator. In my recent video, I explained this wine as follows. Located in Piedmont, Italy, GD Vajra is a family-owned producer that traces its roots way back to the 1880s. This next top wine for $40 a bottle offers compelling value at this price point. I'm not normally a fan of the 2020 vintage for Barolo, as I found that many of those wines tend to be a little bit overly ripe for my personal taste. Instead, I typically prefer vintages like 2015, 16, and 2019. However, the 2020 GD Vajra Barolo Albe is a wine that absolutely crushed it in the 2020 vintage. This highly acclaimed wine is definitely a wine that will benefit from another 2 to 3 years of additional bottle age, but after that, it will make an ideal cellar defender and help you to keep your hands off some of those other vintages that are particularly strong and which will require additional bottle aging. This is a mineral-driven wine with descriptors that include raspberry, cherry, mixed spice, and rose petals. There's ample acidity and a long, lingering finish. Definitely a no-brainer if you're a fan of Nebbiolo. The 2022 Williams Selyem Russian River Valley Eastside Road Neighbors Pinot Noir came in at number 8 in the Wine Spectator Top 100. This wine received a 95-point score from Wine Spectator. It also received a 95 from Jeb Dunnock and a 94 from the Wine Advocate. While Wine Spectator lists the price for this wine as $72 per bottle, I couldn't find it anywhere for less than over $100 or so. Williams Selyem has an interesting backstory, as it started out as just a hobby for 2 friends named Williams and Selyem back in the late 1970s, but ultimately went on to become one of the most prominent producers of California Pinot Noir. This wine is unmistakably Californian, with a fruit-forward style that includes flavors and aromas of cherry, raspberry, blackberry, citrus, earth, and mushroom. There's fine-grained tannins and ample acidity. It's one you can enjoy immediately or at any time over the next 9 to 10 years. Since 1891, 5 generations of the Brunier family have operated iconic Chateauneuf-du-Pape producer Domaine de Vieux Telegraph. Vieux Telegraph has 123 acres of vines that are located on the prestigious Plateau de la Crau. These vines average an impressive 70 years of age and are farmed sustainably, and they also help to produce the next wine in the Wine Spectator Top 100, which is the number 7 wine, specifically the 2020 Domaine de Vieux Telegraph, Chateauneuf-du-Pape, Crau. This wine received a 94-point score from Wine Spectator and sells for right around $115 per bottle. This wine features flavors and aromas of black cherry, wild strawberry, plum, bramble, garrigue, whetstone, and white pepper. While some Chateauneuf-du-Pape can be cloyingly sweet or a little bit jammy, I particularly enjoy this wine because that's not at all the case with this wine. This wine is a GSM blend, or a blend of Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvèdre, and there's a little bit of Cinsault as well. While there are some examples of Chateauneuf-du-Pape that are appropriate to drink on release, this is definitely not one of them. This wine can be a little bit more structured and austere than some other expressions of Chateauneuf on release. In fact, I had the 2010 vintage recently, and while that was an extremely enjoyable wine, it still has not reached its peak yet, and I'll probably be waiting a little bit longer to open my remaining bottles of even the 2010 vintage. Remarkably, the number 6 wine in Wine Spectator's Top 100 list this year is another wine that I featured on this channel last month in my 11 Top Wines for $40 a bottle video. So I definitely agree with the selection of the 2022 Domaine Drouhin Roserock Pinot Noir, which is from the Eola-Amity Hills AVA in Oregon's Willamette Valley. Here are my thoughts regarding this tremendous wine. Domaine Drouhin was one of the first Burgundy producers to invest in Willamette Valley, and since that time, many more have followed suit. The 2022 Willamette Valley Pinot Noirs are being rolled out now, and the next top wine for $40 a bottle is the 2022 Domaine Drouhin Roserock Pinot Noir, which is from the Eola-Amity Hills AVA in Willamette Valley. This wine is a cuvée selection that comes from 35 different blocks of estate-grown fruit in the Eola-Amity Hills AVA. This wine is a consistent performer year after year, and the 2022 vintage was well received by critics. This is a wine that's refined and elegant with a silky texture. You can definitely enjoy this wine immediately, but it's certainly capable of aging as well. This is a wine that features flavors and aromas of raspberry, cherry, orange peel, floral notes, and mixed spice. Domaine Drouhin also has an outstanding Chardonnay as well. The number 5 wine in the Wine Spectator Top 100 is another winery with which I'm very familiar. A few years ago, I visited the winery and did a comprehensive tasting, vineyard tour, and a live podcast with the winemaker. So I was very pleased to see that the 2021 Chimney Rock Stag's Leap District Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon came in at number 5 on the list. This wine received a 94-point score from Wine Spectator, and it sells for right around $120 per bottle. This one should be fairly easy to obtain, as they made more than 13,000 cases of it. This is a polished wine with fine-grained tannins. Flavors and aromas include mixed red and black fruit, violets, cedar earth, and mixed spice. While this wine is labeled Cabernet Sauvignon, it's actually a Bordeaux-style blend that consists of 91% Cabernet Sauvignon, 5% Cabernet Franc, and 3% Merlot. There's also a splash of both Petit Verdot and Malbec. These grapes come exclusively from the estate vineyard that Chimney Rock has, and that vineyard is located entirely within the prestigious Stag's Leap District AVA in Napa Valley. If you're interested in wine recommendations, wine collecting strategies, and learning more about wine, please do subscribe to my channel. I've been collecting wine for more than 15 years and also have a level 4 diploma from the WSET. So I have both formal certification as well as substantial practical knowledge from the School of Hard Knocks. People often tell me that they think Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon is too expensive. If you're in that category, then you definitely may want to consider wine number 4 in the Wine Spectator Top 100 list, namely the Faust Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon. This wine received a 94-point score from Wine Spectator, yet sells for only around $65 per bottle. About half the fruit for the 2021 Faust Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon comes from the estate vineyard in the Coombsville AVA. Coombsville tends to be a little bit cooler, so the fruit from that area tends to have a little bit more freshness and acidity. But they also blended in some riper fruit from further up the valley floor, from Yountville, Oakville, Rutherford, and some other AVAs. This blend worked extremely well for the outstanding 2021 vintage. Flavors and aromas for this wine include blackberry, blackcurrant, black cherry, cedar, tobacco, and mixed spice. This is a wine that you can enjoy young or anytime over the next 8 to 10 years or so. Antinori's Tignanello is considered to be the first Sangiovese dominant Tuscan blend to use Cabernet Sauvignon as a significant component of that blend. Initially, they started out by just adding Cabernet Sauvignon to their Chianti blend, which, at the time, was required to include white grapes in the blend. Once the white grapes were eliminated, they modified the blend a little bit and ultimately settled on a blend that has existed largely to this day, namely 80% Sangiovese, 15% Cabernet Sauvignon, and 5% Cabernet Franc. The 50th anniversary bottling of Antinori's Tignanello came in at number 3 on the Wine Spectator Top 100 list this year. This wine received a lofty 97-point score and sells for around $180 per bottle. They produced a little less than 30,000 cases of this wine, a little more than 1/3 of which are imported into the United States. This wine has definitely increased dramatically in price over the last 10 years. I can still remember when it was under $100 per bottle, and maybe around $80 or so around 2012 or 13. Many of you are extremely familiar with Tignanello, and I know that there's a lot of fans out there, but if you haven't tried it yet, you can expect a full-bodied wine with flavors and aromas of currant, cherry, tobacco, pencil lead, and cedar. This is a wine that will definitely benefit from some additional bottle age and cruise in your cellar for up to 2 decades, but in a pinch you can definitely enjoy it young with a meal and ideally with a healthy decant as well. Further showing the strength of Napa Valley's 2021 vintage, the number 2 wine in Wine Spectator's Top 100 list is the 2021 Beaulieu Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon Georges de Latour Private Reserve. This wine sells for around $170 per bottle, and they made a little more than 7,000 cases of it. While this wine received a 95-point score from Wine Spectator, that's actually substantially lower than 3 other prominent critics who reviewed this wine and gave it a 98-point score. This is the flagship wine for a historic producer that's responsible for producing some of Napa Valley's best all-time wines over the years. The fruit for this particular bottling comes from a vineyard that's planted in the Rutherford Bench, which is a special area in Napa Valley that has alluvial fan soils well suited to the production of high-quality Cabernet Sauvignon. This vineyard was planted by Georges de Latour back in the early 1900s. They use a very strict selection of fruit for this wine, both during the hand harvest in the vineyard and through the optical sorting process at the winery. As a result, they make sure that only the finest fruit makes it into this wine. This is classic Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon with flavors and aromas of blackberry, black cherry, plum, gravel, leather, menthol, and mixed spice. This is a wine that will definitely benefit from another 4 to 5 years of bottle age, and you can enjoy it for another 20 to 25 years after that with no problem. Wine Spectator just released its wine of the year, and it's the 2021 Vignard Don Melchor. This impressive wine received a 96-point score from Wine Spectator and sells for right around $175 per bottle. I had the chance to taste this wine back in June at a James Suckling event in New York, and I was extremely impressed with it. So I definitely am a big fan of this wine as well. In fact, Mr. Suckling gives this wine a 99-point score. Don Melchor is an extremely age-worthy wine, and I found that it's better with at least another 6 to 7 years of bottle age, and it will certainly cruise in your cellar for 20 to 25 years or so with no problem at all. This is a full-bodied wine that's intensely concentrated with flavors and aromas that include blackberry, blackcurrant, plum, tobacco, cedar, mocha, and mixed spice. Really an impressive wine and an excellent choice from Wine Spectator for their wine of the year. Like Wine Spectator, James Suckling recently came out with his top 100 list of wines from 2024. I recently did a comprehensive analysis of that list, and I have a video with 12 takeaways from my review of Mr. Suckling's top 100 list. If you'd like to see it, be sure to watch this video that's linked above.